Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're objectively unpacking a profoundly intricate philosophical text titled The Principle of Telepathy by Kenghai Celestial. If you've ever wondered about the hidden mechanics behind intuition or, that elusive sixth sense, this text presents a fascinating, meticulously detailed system that attempts to explain exactly how non-material communication works. Okay, let's dive into this. The text opens with a pretty bold core claim. Humanity's understanding of telepathy still remains superficial. It's literally just the tip of the iceberg. Kenghai Celestial argues that everyday phenomena, like a sudden gut feeling or a flash of intuition, well, they're real, but they merely hint at a vast, non-material communication system that we barely even grasp.
To unpack this system, we'll follow the text's own roadmap, starting beyond the material world, breaking down the anatomy of the soul, exploring the universal spirit hierarchy, mapping the mechanics of resonance, and finishing up with some practical telepathy FAQs. Let's start with Section 1, Beyond the Material World, Reframing the Premise.
Right off the bat, to understand this framework, you basically have to abandon traditional physics. The text insists that trying to understand telepathy through material science is just a total error in direction. Instead, it operates entirely as an authentic, non-material means of communication spanning what the author calls the negative universe. So to see how the mechanics function, we have to look through a totally different lens.
Moving to Section 2, Anatomy of the Soul, Defining the Esoteric.
So the crucial point is how we actually navigate this negative universe. To do that, the author redefines a few everyday words to build a specific foundation. Let's start with the soul-mind. In this text, it's defined as the union of heart and spirit. It's framed as the primary component of life consciousness, an active mechanism representing information moving in and out of a living being.
Now, what's really fascinating is how the text defines the heart. Forget about the biological pump, and forget about the emotional center. Here, it's essentially empty space. It's a mirror. The author uses this powerful metaphor to state that the heart doesn't truly exist on its own. It merely reflects whatever the spirit dictates. Circumstances appear, the heart arises. They disappear, it vanishes.
So if the heart is just the mirror, the spirit is what's being reflected. Spirit is defined here as a one-dimensional, non-material force and wave, and it possesses three key attributes: consciousness, frequency, and energy. In Kenghai Celestial's framework, your spirit is the ultimate master of your heart and the true root source of all the phenomena we experience.
Which brings us to Section 3, the universal spirit hierarchy frequencies of existence.
Because all these spirits possess different frequencies and energies, the text argues they naturally form a very rigid cosmic structure. At the absolute top is the greatest creator. Residing alone in the realm of cool serenity, the creator possesses the highest possible frequency, instantly permeating all time and space. Below that are gods, who permeate most of the universe. Then we step down to Buddhas, celestial beings, humans, and eventually down to animals, plants, insects, and bacteria. Basically, every life form has a spirit, but its cosmic reach depends entirely on its frequency.
Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 4, the mechanics of resonance, the cosmic ocean. So we know what these spirits are, but how do they actually interact? The author uses this beautiful anchoring metaphor. All those spirits we just looked at interweave to form a vast, boundless ocean of non-material information. And as the text states, life forms are just fish swimming in this ocean, constantly transmitting and receiving spirit waves.
This right here is the core mechanic of the entire theory. Telepathy isn't magic in this framework, it's physics, just non-material physics. It happens simply when the internal frequency of the spirit within your heart exactly matches the frequency of an incoming spirit wave from that vast ocean. When they match, they lock in, causing resonance. It's exactly like tuning a radio dial to a specific station to hear the broadcast.
And this brilliantly illustrates the catch. Just like a radio, if your antenna is damaged, all you get is static. The text sharply contrasts a pure soul mind with a chaotic soul mind. A pure mind is stable. It receives clear, uncorrupted information. However, the author claims that a staggering 98% of humans possess a chaotic, disordered soul mind. Because their internal dial is so noisy, they completely fail to sense clear incoming signals, especially the subtle spirit of the greatest creator.
This all culminates in the mind-bending concept of a holographic Hundan existence. The author posits that every single life form, because it's connected to this resonating ocean, actually contains the full information of the entire universe. Those massive physical differences between, say, a human and a plant, In this framework, they're just micro-level differences in their spirit frequencies. Most importantly, your thinking is the dial. Thinking is the channel you use to adjust your frequency. Tune it correctly, and you can literally access anything.
Finally, Section 5. Telepathy FAQs and Applications. Practical Resonance.
So, how do we actually apply this? The text addresses some incredibly practical curiosities based on these abstract mechanics, starting with a massive question for anyone exploring spiritual frameworks. How do you know if a thought is actually yours or a telepathic signal?
Well, the answer provided is a very strict division. True telepathic sensing only happens in an unconscious state. The information just arrives naturally. On the flip side, the text categorizes active, conscious thinking as diluted activity, basically forced, artificial thought. True sensing, according to the author, is always passive reception.
The text also tackles the wild concept of premonitions. Why can people sometimes sense the future accurately?
To explain this, the author introduces the information retention space. According to the text, life is basically a pre-written cosmic script. Everything past and future already exists as data within this non-material repository. If your mind is completely quiet and your faith is pure, your directed thinking acts as a search query. You tune into the exact frequency of a future event and essentially download that information straight into your conscious awareness.
Then the text pushes the boundaries even further. Can this frequency tuning allow us to communicate with the deceased? What about nature, or even the creator?
The answer, according to the framework, is yes. You simply have to overcome boundaries via frequency. To communicate with the dead, you enter their thinking channel. The text asserts life actually has no birth or death, and telepathy completely ignores time and space. The exact same rule applies to animals and plants. As for the greatest creator, your baseline intuition serves as a natural contact point, while active prayer or meditation are deliberate ways to tune your dial up to that absolute highest universal frequency. To conclude our summary of Kanghai Celestial's text, we have to look at the ultimate stakes of this philosophy. Mastering this non-material resonance isn't just a neat trick, it's a strict prerequisite. To ascend to higher spiritual planes, specifically what the text calls the Elysium world, or to achieve Buddhahood, you absolutely must master the application of telepathy. It is the fundamental language of the higher universe.
So we've unpacked a truly intricate system of non-material physics, cosmic oceans, and frequency dials. Based on this framework, your soul mind is a transmitter that quite literally never turns off. So I'll leave you with this final provocative thought to consider today. What frequency is your soul mind broadcasting into the holographic ocean right now? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep exploring.